Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dark Tales from the Job World. Woo. I am your host, the night editor, Kat Rocha, and with me is everyone's abduction expert in the night, Ishi Gray.
Why, hello everyone. It is I, J.Ishiro, author and alien in a human suit. And tonight, as far as dark tales from the job world, I was primarily planning on sharing my dark tales in the human suit masquerading as a human, so human jobs. But if you ask real nicely, maybe I'll talk about some of the rather shitty supervisors I had back when I was on the abduction crew.
Well, let's be honest. Your time in the human suit, you had way more, shall we say, interesting times than with the abduction crew. I mean, other than Walter.
Yeah, well, it's all relative. It is all relative. But let's see, as all five of you listen right now, we're finding that for some reason, right now on the internet, people like to hear shitty stories about jobs. And a lot of them are like,
It's what's down with the kids these days.
yes, that is what's down with
And
the
the
kids
top
these.
tickers.
Yeah, exactly. The question is, it's called TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part of it is it's going to be a whole generation that won't realize that's the sound a clock would make.
It's the sound the clock would make. It's the sound of, or it's the name of the Army of Oz.
Oh, the TikTok?
Yeah, the Royal Army of Oz is named TikTok.
All of them?
All of him, yes.
Oh, is he just one?
Yes.
An army of one.
An army of one.
That is the army.
Yes. TikTok is an army of one.
Well, he is a badass robot.
Yeah, he is. That'd be a kick.
Where the Tin Man was a cyborg, TikTok is what, a wind-up man?
Mechanical, yeah. He is an automata in the classic sense.
Yeah, I mean, I shudder to think maybe in the future there'll be a whole generation that thinks that TikTok was named after that stupid app.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't act like an idiot at all. He hasn't bitched once about his gender.
Well, remember, this is the generation of people that wanted to sue Bram Stoker for copyright infringement on Twilight.
You know what? There's a good chance they may never even read Wizard of Oz. There's nothing to worry about.
And let's face it, the movie would probably scare the fucking shit out of them. Of Return to Oz?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, look at the Wheelers. The Wheelers are amazing. And they're nightmare fuel even now.
I mean, Fairuza Balk.
Yeah.
Fairuza Balk as Dorothy.
She was perfect.
You even had a goth girl playing Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
She even had her chicken. Trenton, the sound of time being wasted.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, are the rats in here?
No.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yes, we're apparently hip to the fact that what everyone likes right now on the internet is stories about jobs. Fuck knows why. And a lot of them, some are justified. Others are like, really? That's your complaint?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we'd share some of our horror stories.
Because they're fun. And they're funny. And it was 20 years ago, so who the fuck cares?
Exactly. Exactly. So why don't you start it off, since you had a job that a lot of people probably think is a dream job.
What, GameStop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it isn't.
See, that's the horrible thing, is that it was until it wasn't.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is at the particular store I was at, and I'm actually kind of surprised myself on this point. The manager of the store that I first started off at was a woman named Michelle. And until my current job, She was the only female manager I ever had who wasn't a bitch. She was awesome. She was, I hate to say it, a real geek girl. I mean, she was personal friends with Jonan Vasquez. Um, so Michelle was amazing to work for. And when we would close together, it was great. And she personally recommended me to go up and be an assistant manager with the idea of hopefully getting my own store. So while I was still under her, GameStop was amazing. I'd go to work, I'd talk games with people, I'd pal around with my coworkers. We got to rent games for free. It was a dream job. And then they said, "Hey, we're opening up a new store. We want you to go be the assistant manager at the new store." I'm like, okay, great. Go. They're trusting me with the new store. This is great. And that's when the dream fell apart. That's when things went to shit. You were gonna say something.
No, I want to keep hearing.
Okay. Well, basically, they seem to have populated that store with all of the rejects from other stores. The two guys who were under me, they were nice enough, but it was very obvious they were just there to collect a paycheck and to rent free games. And that was really all that they wanted to do. They didn't want to actually work. And so I had to bust their asses a couple of times. GameStop took away our ability to rent games for free, or at least brand new games. We had to wait till it had been out for 6 months, so that was a bummer. And then there was my manager at this new store. He would steal all the freebies that would come for both the customers and for the employees. So basically, I started grabbing the mail before he did so that I could, grab the stuff before he stole it. And then later we found out the reason why he was stealing things was because he was on speed.
He was selling them?
Probably. I don't know. I just know that things would disappear. And he was tweaking hard. He had that weird oily skin that you just wring it out and it would drip.
But he was fat.
Yeah.
No. It takes real effort to be on speed and be fat.
No,
I mean, you have to eat like there's a prize at the end.
He probably was. I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy doing my job. I just know that he had to have been on speed because he would talk at a mile a minute. His complexion was, oily, greasy, sweaty, and terrible. And he would go through these weird mood swings where he'd be, up and happy and like, "Hey, everybody, we're going to do a great job this evening." And then 2 seconds later, he's fucking paranoid as shit. And he is convinced that the other people on the team are out to get him. And he'd confide in me. And then I'd go and I'd see him do it to the other people on the team. And it's, about me. It's like, oh, fuck. No, this guy was way on drugs. But he came in every day on time. So hey, and finally things there were a lot of things that weren't good at that particular store, but the big one was when he and then the district manager both came to me and said, "Yeah, just like in Office Space, we're going to need you to work these nights." And I told them, "No, I'm going to school full time."
Oh, yeah.
You can't force me to work those nights under California law. And they're like, "Well, we had an understanding, and it was our understanding that you would be there to work." And it's like, yes, I am more than happy to take on extra hours at work. I am more than happy to be there when you need me, except for when I need to be at school. And basically, there was one night where I was at school and I got a call saying, "You need to be here." And I said, "No, I'm in the middle of school." And they did the bit of, "This will have consequences." This was my manager. Now, of course, he does this 2 days before Black Friday. He does this the Tuesday before, no, Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And so I waited till Black Friday because I was opening that day. I would be the only person there. And by only person, I mean the only person in the store until 2 p.m. on Black Friday. Yes. And
Oh,
I
jeez.
opened at 6 a.m. So I waited till 10 o'clock when we had a lull in the store. And I called the district manager and told him, look, that was uncalled for. What he, the fact that he was threatening me about skipping, school. And I'm not going to do that. That's illegal. And the district manager pulled the, well, we had an understanding, and there may have to be some consequences to these actions, because it's just not right. And I said, you're right, it isn't right. I quit. I will do the kindness of waiting till somebody can come and relieve me, but I quit. This is my last day. And he goes, what? I go, yes, I quit right this very second. When somebody comes in, I'm out of here. And I am not kidding. Both my manager and the district manager, because the manager wasn't going to work that day, fucker. Both of them were down at the store begging me to stay. And it was the funniest thing in the world. And I just told them, no, if you're going to, try to treat me like this, try to strong arm me, try to bully me into giving up school to work this job, I don't need you. Fuck off.
Exactly.
And yeah, I just quit. It was the only time I did not give notice.
Unlike me, who did that a lot.
No, the only thing is look, I'll stay here till somebody gets here. And since they were both there, I'm like, okay, I'm gone, guys. Bye. Like, well, can't you wait till so and so gets here? No, you're here. Bye. Yang, how were the hangovers? None.
We didn't have hangovers. I told you we didn't really drink enough.
No hangovers. Although I did learn that I should probably have more food in my stomach, but no hangover.
My species does not have alcohol because it's just not part of our culture. So I have no resistance.
You lost that with disco.
Yes, disco, gay techno,
Yes.
fashion. Actually, we do have fashion. It's just not very good.
Well, it's all uniform.
But, it might be a silver jumpsuit or a gray jumpsuit or a skin-tight jumpsuit. Might have a flashy belt or a pin every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, okay, my turn. One of my jobs, one of my early jobs, first year of college.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Pool Supplies, chemicals. The job itself was just boring. It wasn't a bad job. It paid pretty good, but it was dull. And there was one guy on staff who was this kind of chubby, short Mexican dude. He was probably like 5'4", and he was always going on about what a tough guy was. And at lunch he'd be showing everybody his guns in the back of his car. And
God, this is California, by the way.
Yeah, and everyone just figured, okay, this dude's got short man syndrome. He's just overcompensating. And he was always talking about how, this is just his day thing. He's really a big time drug runner. And he even asked me hey, would you be open to maybe taking a trip down to Tijuana with me?
Pick up some furniture.
Yeah, well, he was implying that he wanted me to run some drugs for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Okay. So anyway, this goes on for a bit. I'll answer the silver jumpsuits later, bar one.
Yes, User X said Leslie Pool Supply is all over California. Where there is a pool, there is Leslie.
Some of the customers were just bizarre too, but that was good and bad. I had some really fun customers and others that were just like, oh man, this is idiocracy. But anyway, one day Frank calls in, because again, nobody took the drug shit seriously. He calls in, I can't make it today. There's an emergency in my house, man. There was a drive-by and the police are here and they want me to talk to them. And my mom's crying a lot, man. I can't. And everyone's like, what the fuck? No, there really was a drive-by on his house.
I shouldn't laugh because I legitimately feel bad for his mom, but
no, I don't. From what I gather, they were all in on it.
Oh, if they were all in on it, then fuck that.
It was like Olivas's dad.
Oh, okay.
Or family, how they were.
Yeah.
They were all running a chop shop.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, apparently, I guess him and his brother had moved in on the wrong territory with their operation.
Hey, question. Is this the same group area turf that the other guy that you knew was selling LSD tabs for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is. There was a lot of drugs in Riverside. And it was right next to the county where your dad was busting speed houses.
Ah, okay.
And there were territories and there were known gangs. And I have a feeling him and his brother's private operation upset the wrong vato.
Oh, my God.
Well, at the time, it's strange as it sounds, it's not like now with MS-13,
mm-hmm.
where MS-13 revels in violence.
Yeah, they'd come into the house and fuck your shit and then shoot up your house and then set it on fire.
It wasn't like that in the 90s. There was this one entire area of Riverside that was ran by, and I don't know how this works. The Mexican gangs in Riverside were always named after the street they originated from.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was the Mexicans. The Crips and Bloods, that was a totally different thing. But the Mexican gangs, and there was a neighborhood.
It's very East Coast, actually. Yeah, that's very East Coast.
And I guess it originated on this very long strip with all the Mexican families called Casablanca Street. The White House, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were called Casablanca Riva.
Casablanca Riva.
I have no idea what that means other than White House. I don't know what Riva means.
My Spanish is a little wonky on that word, but I think it's like Casablanca lives or Casablanca forever. Those of you in the chat, if you know better, please share.
And they really weren't all that violent unless you got into their territory or didn't pay them. That was it. So I kind of wonder if Frank and his brother did something really stupid. And knowing how stupid Frank was.
Well, for one thing, the Italian mob at least ran on the idea of you don't talk about Fight Club. So, the fact that he's showing off his guns, I'm like,
yeah,
did he flash some merchandise to people he shouldn't have?
Maybe. He probably was just selling on somebody's turf. That was my guess. But yeah, it was lunch break, and he pulls out a goddamn Uzi and says, "Hey, check this out! Just bought it."
An Uzi? Full size or mini?
Full size.
Oh shit!
It's not even. It's not even legal. It's a full auto. It's like,
it's
dude,
not even legal.
Yeah, apparently it was an unregistered gun
fuck.
that was full auto, so he got it illegally. He's showing this thing off at lunch. And the boss told, don't do that again.
No, that's stupid.
But yeah, we just all figured, okay, Frank's 5'4", he talks big, he's got short man syndrome. No, he was really dealing drugs, and he got his house shot up, or his mom's house shot up, and he lived with mom.
Kind of like this guy I worked with at Starbucks. God, he was a real piece of shit. Okay,
your turn.
Okay. After I worked at GameStop, I went over to Starbucks, and this was now to be fair, this is Starbucks 20 years ago. This is back when we had paid retreats to learn the chemistry of brewing coffee, on how to gauge exactly how much water to beans to put in, depending on what type of bean, depending on how exactly you are grinding it for what type of method you are brewing. I mean, they taught us science, yo, on how to do coffee. And then the science of pairing flavors. It was absolutely incredible learning this stuff. I learned a lot doing that. I really did. And that time at Starbucks was really good. I think that I got shafted as far as pay goes, but hey, when they were also offering uh, medical benefits and uh, stock options for part-time employees, that it kind of makes up for it. So anyway,
That was back when the company didn't suck ass.
yeah, that was when the company actually cared about its employees and actually cared about its customers. That company doesn't exist anymore. Fuck that shit. But anyway, yeah, my complaints about Starbucks are not actually of the company at the time that I worked for them, but some of the people that I worked with. And one of them was this real piece of shit. I couldn't tell you what his name was because I don't remember it. I just know he had the biggest short man syndrome I have ever seen in my entire life, because he couldn't stop fucking lying about how much of a badass he was. He couldn't stop lying to save himself. In fact, I'm fairly certain that's why he got fired, is because he would lie to people in the drive-thru about what his other job was. And what his other job was a vice cop for San Diego. Yeah. It's like, why are you here then?
He worked at Starbucks?
Yes.
And he was a vice cop.
He swore that he was a part-time vice cop. I'm like, how do you become a part-time vice cop?
Wait. Well, there are a couple scenarios. One, he isn't a cop. He's an asset.
I wouldn't doubt it if he was a one-time asset. One time.
And he was a doof that they just used when they needed him.
But basically, the yarns he would tell makes Tom King look like, a hand on the Bible telling the absolute truth to God.
And then these ninjas came out, yo.
Well, it was really bad because he would spin these tales. And again, this is during rush hour, in one of the busiest Starbucks in the city, which was the one right across the street from Miramar Air Base. We had a drive-through on that one too. He was often working the drive-through, and he'd forget to turn off his microphone, and he would just be talking to whoever happened to be listening, who was on duty at the time. He just ramble off these tales of how, like, he was working the wharf down by the convention center. And for those of you who have never seen this, that it's like the big happening place in San Diego where shit goes down. That is where there is an awful lot of prostitution. There is an awful lot of drug trafficking, because that's where all the big wigs go, especially during Comic-Con season.
Oh, we could tell those stories, yeah.
And what's interesting about that is I worked for a woman who, she's been very open about it. She had been trafficked and she was forced to work that area. So, yeah, damn, she's a badass though. She got herself out of that situation, but that's neither here nor there. No, this guy was talking about how, he'd have all these honeys, hanging off of his arms, and these honeys willing to do anything to, so that they didn't have to go to jail or go back to their pimp or both. And he talked about all the blow he was seeing, and just like, where are you getting this shit from? And finally I cornered him. I'm like, okay, you're saying that you were involved in this one bust. Yes. You're saying that it took place in this section. Yes. You're saying that it happened, at this time period. I'm like, he goes, yes. I'm like, you do realize that particular neighborhood wasn't built for 2 years, and after this date you're giving me. Not only that, you're how old? So this puts you at what, 15, helping these drug busts?
Well, I'm older than I look.
Yeah, he did. He immediately, without missing a beat, is like, oh, you believe, that I'm really that old? I'm really this, I'm really that. It's like, you're a compulsive liar, you shithead. And not only that, but there are very few men I have ever met where I would say legitimately, you hate women. You hate women or you have a problem with women. I've maybe met like 5 of them in my entire life. I've met more women who openly have problems with men than I do men who have it with women, and he's one of them. And I swear the reason why he got fired was because he was talking about hookers and blow while on the microphone with the drive-through. Cesario, are we sure this guy wasn't trying to cover for the fact that he was banging hookers? No, I can tell you right now, I swear I think he was a virgin because he had to have been 23, 24. He was Asian, and he had something to prove. I don't know what it was. I tried to get him to tell stories about where he was from or, tell me something that wasn't a lie, and he couldn't stop talking about being a fucking vice cop. What?
So you were looking for like a simple answer, like, "Oh, I'm from La Mesa," and he'd give you stories about vice cops.
Yeah. He's like, well, before I got here, I was a cop. I'm like, oh, were you? He goes, in fact, I still am. I'm undercover. I'm like, right now you're undercover? He goes, no, right now I'm on this job. But, when I'm off job, I'm undercover. I'm like, uh-huh, where?
You're a shitty cop if you're telling me this.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie Donnie Brasco? That's about me.
No, I don't know what his deal was. It was just he would purposely say things to try to shock people, and he couldn't shock me. In fact, I kept trying to poke holes in his stories, which wasn't hard. Just he had problems. Anyway.
You'll have to tell about Viet next.
Oh, Viet.
Okay.
But Viet wasn't a job.
Well,
Oh, wait, no, he was a job.
He was a shitty customer.
He was a shitty customer. I'm sorry.
Viet, yeah. But, okay. Well, so I told a story about a guy who was a failed drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's fast forward ahead to near the end of college, and I was working at a Kinko's. At Kinko's in San Diego.
Kinkies.
Kinko's in the gay part of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, that was a cool job. A lot of really, really cool coworkers.
It's next door to the JB Lounge. It was a Jack in the Box that they tried to make look all hip and trendy with a fireplace.
And no, good places to eat during lunch. I could go down to the record store. There were good coffee houses. This actually wasn't a bad place to work. But anyway, I was working this job at Kinko's, and I was one of those, hey, it's the computer guy, a computer expert, which meant I understood how Windows worked.
How Control-Alt-Delete works.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Just from what you've told me.
I think the number one thing I had this special knowledge of was, aside from, it was Control-Alt-Delete and how to get out of the endless pop-ups loop,
Mm-hmm.
which so many customers got into.
Mm-hmm.
But what?
And for those of you who don't know, it's because they were looking at porn.
And I wasn't a dick about it. I wouldn't judge. I wouldn't say anything about the butt sex going on the screen. It was always gay porn. It really was.
No, it was just two gentlemen tying each other's shoes.
Right. So, usually it was a boomer, some aging boomer who was a gay guy who'd probably come out a little too late, didn't have anyone. And they'd go to the Kinkos and look at porn. Okay, whatever. And yeah, so I just lean over and go, oh, yeah, it's stupid. It does that. Here, I'll show you how to. And I'd show them how to fix it themselves. But wait a minute. Anyway.
We're looking at Bar One's comment.
Yeah. I got hit on by so many fucking older gay men while I was working there. Yeah,
Well, your human suit was a pretty boy.
a pretty boy, apparently. Fortunately, unlike San Francisco, none of them grabbed my ass.
That's what the sailors are for.
No, in San Francisco, they just outright
Grab your ass.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And okay, maybe it's terrifying for a woman, but I gotta tell you, as a man, it was just like, what the fuck are you doing? It really wasn't like this.
I've never had the terrifying thing. I've had the instant "I'm going to punch you"
This is
reaction.
why I always hear these chicks go, "Oh my god, it was so scary. It was so degrading. You touched my butt." Like, look, I've been groped so many times, and all I can say is it's obnoxious. And that's also another fun one. Is you always, well, you don't have to put up with sexual harassment. You did not go to college in San Francisco. Shut up. Yes, I have been physically violated.
It would be assaulted.
Assaulted, yes. Multiple times by some old fart's hand.
Or if we don't want to get demonetized, S-aid.
S-aid, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the worst one was the chick who bit me, but that wasn't in San Francisco.
Do I know that story?
I think so. I can tell that one later.
Okay, I don't know. Is this on the job?
No, this was not a job related one.
This is at the club, right?
No,
No?
this was at a summer school.
I do know this story. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, working this job at Kinko's, I was the computer guy, and lots of old gay men looking at porn. Well, there was one time and one time only that I don't think this was a gay person, but it was damn bizarre. I'll know that. All that's all I can say. And there was this older guy in the back sitting at the computer, and nobody would say anything. And he's just sitting back. They go, "Oh, oh, oh."
This is Mr. Ed impression?
And he'd start breathing hard. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh.
Now that in itself was just like, okay, let's all pretend this isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes on for about 10 minutes.
Oh.
And then a woman, it looked like she was in her 40s or 50s, comes in, stands beside him, puts her hand on his shoulders. "Dear, are you done now?" "I think I'm okay now."
Oh my God.
And they logged him out and said, "Okay, we're ready to go."
Oh my God.
I have no idea what was going on there.
No.
I'm not sure I want to know what the fuck was going on there.
No. Oh, jeez.
As for the biting incident, as you're asking,
Mhm.
that was in a summer program in my junior of high school, summer.
Mhm.
And it was a art program at actually California Summer School of the Arts, the Cal Arts Summer School. And I
Mhm.
was there for the writing program. And there was this one chick there who, I don't know what her deal was, but she was high, and there were multiple times she kept hitting on me. And look, I just was not interested. She could have been nice enough. I have no idea. I kind of doubt it considering she bit me. And nobody was interested because, to put point blank, she'd come from a rich family, and she was a bit of a princess, but she had also had the unfortunate accident of that pony dragging her 50 feet when she fell off and was hooked on the stirrup.
Oh.
And her face took a bad beating.
Oh.
And required extensive plastic surgery. And she wasn't terribly ugly, but you didn't want to date her.
Can I say something horrible?
Sure.
She's affectionately called horse-faced. Sorry. I'm sure she's a sweet lady. So.
I have no idea. She was a Hollywood rich kid.
To answer Yang, No, in Hillcrest there are no libraries. Kinko's is the only place to go for internet.
And this was in San Diego, actually, the gay part of town, which probably isn't gay anymore.
Also, libraries at that point were putting porn blocks.
Yeah.
So, but Kinko's wasn't.
I don't know. But anyway, this chick, one evening at the cafe where we'd all, during the day, we'd be in our classes, and at night there was this cafe that everyone would hang out with on campus. And, we're hanging out there. And at one point, I feel like this firm grip on my shoulder. And it keeps getting tighter. And it's like digging in, and I look around, right? And it's her, and she's got her teeth sunk into my shoulder.
Jesus.
And I physically, I kind of took a swing, belted her off. She's like, "Oh, baby, how you doing?"
She's not right.
She was on LSD, but
oh, okay. Well, there you go. Probably thought you were a donut.
No, she wanted me.
You were made out of delicious candy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell.
Well, it was an art school or an art program. And you had a lot of artsy kids for 4 weeks straight with no parents. There was a lot of fucking going on in the bushes. And I think she was looking to hook up, and I think her game just needed some work.
Yeah, she needed to tighten that. Like, sorry, daddy's money ain't going to buy it. No, see, I never went to a co-ed camp.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I take that back. I did for 6th and 7th grade because I was at a private school then, and it was the entire class had their retreat. But these are kids I had known since preschool. I mean, kind of like sleeping with your brother. It's like, no, I'm not going to do anything with any of these kids.
Oh my God. Let me do a share screen here.
Okay. I mean, I can talk about some other things that happened during those campouts, but it wasn't anything that was adult that I'm aware of.
Now, again, granted, I realize as a male the experience is vastly different, but that really was a sexual assault. And again, look, it didn't change my life.
Well, no, it gave you something to talk about.
A little creepy, and it was really fucking annoying, but it was like, oh, whatever.
Sissa.
This was it.
It's
This is
full of cis people.
The California State Summer School for the Arts, and it was a big deal. I don't know anymore.
Was it actually ran by the government before?
No, it was a program ran primarily. It was a state program, but it was through California's or through CalArts when it meant something. And there was a lot of cool shit that went on here. I did learn a lot in the writing program, but I have a feeling it probably isn't so good now. I will say that as a parent, if parents knew what was being allowed to go on, they might have had a problem with it, considering the amount of drugs and sex that were happening. But anyway, so here we go.
Well, it was for Hollywood. Are you finding? Hey,
John, what's up?
JDA is in the house.
Well, okay, I'm gonna say that I was kind of mean about it. When I shoved her to the ground, I did yell, "You crazy deformed bitch!"
Well, she bit you.
Yeah. And no, for the record, no, I did not partake in all the drugs and fucking in the bushes. No. I may have done some macking and groping, but that's it. I was not going to look. It was the 90s, and you were fucking careful. It was not a wise thing to stick your dick in everything. And in retrospect, I am glad that I was not sleeping around.
AIDS was still terrifying back then.
Well, I'll say as a teenager, it was AIDS that kept me primarily, and the fear of producing a kid. I think the older I got, I'm like, I'm really glad that that kept me from doing those things. Seriously, I'm glad that there isn't some huge laundry list of hookups.
Unlike your cousins.
My my oh god, my white trash cousins probably have more diseases.
Probably.
Not probably, they do.
No, they do.
The 90s were different.
The 90s were different.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
you ready
Let's
to tell
see.
your next job story?
Oh, I'm trying to think of a good one. I mean,
Well, you were talking about Starbucks.
yeah, Starbucks was awful. Well, okay. It's Starbucks was yet another one of those things where the first store I was at was great to work at, and then they transferred me, and for some reason they transferred me to like the losers club, including the manager, and the manager at that store was the biggest fucking bitch in the whole wide world. Uh I swear she started doing things of like reducing my hours. And the hours I was there, she was having me do the shittiest work possible. Like, okay, here's the thing. I don't know if it's still the same way, but this was 20 years ago, so I feel confident in talking about it. At Starbucks, they had a
Sorry,
rule.
I got an interrupt. Well, it was the 90s, John. We didn't know that AIDS came from the butt. You know, they were telling us AIDS came from kissing, for that matter. Remember that?
Yeah. Or blood transfusions.
Yeah, it was a intravenous and butt sex is essentially it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gay thing, or if you were sick and you got a blood transfusion.
See, but we didn't know that. We were being told that, you know, you could drink a soda and get it.
But when I was a kid, it was the gay disease, or you don't want to get sick and need a blood transfusion because that's how kids get it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until
like that kid on Walker Texas Ranger.
It wasn't until 97, my god, when they were showing us videos showing, look, you don't just get it from butt sex, just unprotected sex in general, you can get it. And we have a rich girl who got sick to prove it, and here's her biopic.
Oh wait, is that the one with Molly Ringwald?
Yes.
And the only good thing about that was getting to look at Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, but you know, it was like, you know, it's shocking. And the thing is I'm like, guys, I grew up in Hollywood. I already know this fucking shit. No. Oh, when okay, with Starbucks, and I'm sure people who work in who have experience working in the food service will have their own stories that are like this. But there are certain things that each Starbucks store is supposed to do every single night and every week, like clockwork, in order to keep up their health ratings. You know, to keep that A, because as long as you have an A, then you stay open. The store I got moved to did not do these things. And when I figured out that these things weren't getting done, I went to the manager and said, "Hey, we need to do these things." And she goes, "Okay, then, since you're the one who pointed it out, you get to do the dirty work." And I said, "Sure," because I was plucky and young and thought that it might actually help with, you know, advancement, not realizing that she was the biggest bitch of the world. So here's the thing. You're supposed to take all the milk out of the refrigerators that, you know, all they do is hold milk. They're not supposed to hold anything else. And each store has about 4 refrigerators. That's all they do is hold milk. And part of the cleaning is every week you got to pull all of those jugs of milk out, spray down everything with bleach, and then put them back in. Ours hadn't been done in 4 months.
Oh my god. Milk smell?
Well, that was when it's like I'd open the fridge and I'm like, God, why does it smell like this? Like, when was the last time it was clean? I don't know. I don't know. Not as long as I've been here. It's like, well, how long have you been here? 4 months? It's like, okay. Hey, boss, I don't think the fridges have been cleaned in 4 months. You're absolutely right. It's now your job. So this was my first experience with pink milk.
Oh my God.
My mother always warned me about pink milk. She always taught me if the milk is pink, you don't drink it. It, doesn't matter. You don't touch it if it's pink. And this was my first experience with it because down at the bottom of these fridges, there was like a well area, and all the spilled milk had congealed down there, turning into pink cottage cheese. And it had to have been a good 6 inches, not exaggerating, of pink congealed cottage cheese. And no, I did not get gloves to wear to clean this. You got gloves when you worked out front, but I was in the back. No gloves for me. So all I had was like one of those little dish sponges and a bucket. And that's what I had to use to scrape up all of this pink congealed cottage cheese rotted milk that was fermenting down at the bottom of each of the 4 refrigerators in there. Oh, that was gross. And I probably shouldn't have done this, but damn it, I was actually pissed. I went to the boss and I said, nobody else touches these fridges but me. I can't stand how bad this got. I will not let this happen again. Nobody's cleaning these things but me. And she goes, okay. And that became my only job for the last 4 months I was there.
See, when I
was cleaning the fridges.
When I was that age and I had those service jobs, I always volunteered for the stuff no one else wanted to do because it meant I didn't have to deal with customers.
That was the great thing, was that because I was on cleanup duty, I didn't have to be out front with the customers. I didn't have to wear a uniform. I could go in wearing jeans and a t-shirt and wear whatever the hell I wanted, and it didn't matter. But yeah.
Okay. I want to tell the Hitler story.
Oh, and I still got tips.
Oh, you got tips?
I still got tips.
Oh, okay.
You want to tell the Hitler story?
Well, I already told the story about the compulsive masturbator at Kinko's.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this Kinko's that I worked at in the gay part of town, it was weird. Nobody on staff was gay except management. Everyone else were kind of Gen Xers, right? And most of the staff were either like really, really the beginning Gen X, kind of post-boomer,
mm-hmm.
or really, really like at the end of the boomer phase running things. And so there was kind of this gap. I mean, all the coworkers were cool. That was the good part. That and we got to listen to 80s music. But it was still in the gay part of town, and I had to deal with dirty old men grabbing my ass and constantly helping guys get out of endless pop-up loops because they were looking at porn on the computers. And then there were guys that were using the Kinko's printers to print out their dirty photos. Yeah, the thing is the image of the gay community being a bit debaucherous. Sadly, that Kinko's it lived up to that reputation there. There was definitely a very Bacchian or Bacchus. Would that be the right term? Bacchus? Bacchanalian feel to the environment.
Well, that entire section of Hillcrest was very
Bacchanalian. It did have Gay Mart and Roosterwear.
And Halford.
Rob Halford's. Yeah. No, Roosterwear. It was a clothing store called Roosterwear.
And Gay Mart.
Gay Mart was just funny.
And I miss City Delicatessen that had fruit all over the top.
Well, that was actually there before it became gay.
Yeah.
That was just that was an old Jewish family that'd been there since the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got bought out. Anyway, the manager of this Kinko's was one of those ballbuster dykes who had something to prove. She dressed like a man. She had a really tight cropped male haircut and always bitchy and trying to show that she's in charge. She's the alpha. But the thing was, she was like 5'1". Okay. And she was wearing her leather jacket and riding her motorcycle and trying to act like a badass.
Was it at least a hog?
It was run-of-the-mill Honda.
Or like a Goldwing?
I don't know, motorcycles.
Okay.
But anyway,
Well, what I mean is it a hog or is it a rice rocket?
it was not a rice rocket.
Okay.
Anyway, this woman who was just tense as all hell. You knew she was mad because, okay, this gets into the age group. You knew that things were fine if the employees got to choose the music because we're all Gen Xers. We chose the 80s station.
Nice.
But when she was in, so, you know, I got to hear Gary Newman and Duran Duran, Depeche Mode. Everybody was happy.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever she was in a bad mood, she chose the music. Disco.
So she rage discoed?
Yeah, so you did Disco Inferno, and you know, Macho Man is like, oh shit, she's mad. Staying Alive. It's like, okay, well, disco. We're up shit creek.
Wow.
And there was one of our team building meetings. And I shit you not, this is one of the weirdest team building meetings I had ever attended at Kinko's.
Mm-hmm.
Is she starts going on that she wants Kinko's to be our life, that our teams need to be the people that we spend all of our free time with, that, you know, we shouldn't spend time with family and our old friends. Kinko's our family. And that, you know, she encouraged us to even get team tattoos. Kinko's for life.
Cult? Oh my God.
Well, she did belong to this really weird gay church.
Okay.
I don't know. It was kind of like a weird cross between Unitarianism and some gay thing. I don't know what it was, but it was the one gay church in San Diego at the time, and it was known as the gay church.
That they're on, was it University or Washington?
It was on Washington, yes.
Okay.
You know, it's a shame Janelle's not on. She'd probably know since she lived there too. Anyway, she's going on about this, and then she's reading from the sheet. Says, you know, Hitler did a lot of bad things, but one thing he was very good at was uniting people.
What?
And getting a goal completed. I shit you not. I shit you not.
Out of all the people to bring up as like pillars of those.
Yes. Hitler could organize people to unite under a common goal. And everyone in the room's just looking at each other going, did we just hear this? Is this really happening?
Is this a test?
Yeah. Everyone's like, is this really happening?
He really brought people together.
Now, what he did with that unity was bad, but
why, out of all of human history, would she bring up him for those qualities?
I guess he's more acceptable than Henry Ford, who did a good job.
You know, Henry Ford. You know, the myth of Lincoln. You know,
yeah. There's any number of other people you could have mentioned, but yes, he got things done. It's like, and after the meeting, everyone's just looking at each other. There were people outside smoking their cigarettes, going, "Should we even be working here?"
Yeah. You know, first she wants us to join our Kinko's cult, and then she's talking about what a great man Hitler was.
And she went from being called Disco Bitch to Hitler Bitch behind her back. And they started calling her Mini Hitler.
Mini Hitler. Wow. Ow.
So, yeah, I figured you'd like that story.
Yeah. Star, this reminds me of that movie, The Wave, except that it's not the teacher that is showing how easy it is to get co-opted into groupthink.
Well, again, it was Gen X, and like telling us to join a group's like the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, I'm out.
Like, no, don't really want that.
That, and there was also this ongoing thing among the employees of doing various pranks to piss her off.
Like what?
Usually it was, we'd set things up that just looked like errors or wrenches in the work. I mean, they weren't like typical pranks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like maybe something like get overloaded with too many papers, or you just things that would make her snap because she was really high strung.
Don't close the door all the way, just so it has that error message.
Yeah,
on like a printer or something.
exactly. Yeah. Um, but there was one that I did that I was so effective that I just chose not to tell anyone till I quit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, you know, with your computer, how you can set the background image,
Mm-hmm.
the wallpaper, right?
Yeah.
And you can change it, but there's a setting where if you change it, where it won't change until you reboot.
Mm.
You know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Most of these people knew so little, or the management knew so little about the computers, that one afternoon I went back home because I worked the night shift, and I had redone the Kinko's back wallpaper on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done my own version that said Stinkos, shitty copies. And I put it on every computer, but it wasn't until they'd be rebooted in the morning that the screens would change.
Nice.
And I came into work and, oh my God, you know, we've got a problem right now in the computer department. There's a virus hit. And we're trying to figure out, we've got, what was it? They were calling the people at central management to
Really?
come in and figure out how it happened.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, a virus, huh? Uh-huh. Oh,
So,
that's horrible.
all right. So yeah, there's one. You got another?
Probably do. I'm just thinking. Let's see.
What's the question, dude?
Let's see here.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
What?
with
Oh, you're thinking. Oh, by the way, I can answer that UFO while you're thinking. I'll answer that UFO question.
I had an answer, but
oh,
that's
you
okay.
did? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up that as much as GameStop at the time was a dream job, and really for a college student who had no other than going to school, I had lots of disposable income. That was a wonderful job. But I will say it was interesting for me, a girl who had always been the fat one, the geek, the loser, the outcast. Suddenly I had guys paying attention to me while I worked there. And I had three stalkers while I worked at GameStop. Now, to be fair, one of them was everybody's stalker.
Was that Viet?
Yeah, that was Viet. And where are you going?
I got that.
Oh, okay. But Viet was everybody's stalker. Viet would come into the store already talking. I don't think he knew how to shut up. He was already talking to the air, the door, the piece of refuse that somebody hadn't quite gotten into the trash can. He would talk to just basically anything and everything that would give him an ear or give him the time of day. And I really couldn't tell you what he was talking about, other than it was really important to him at that particular moment. And he had this knack for coming into the store during like rush hour time and monopolizing anybody's time who was on the floor, like putting games away or helping customers or other things like that. And he would follow you through the store. And if you went into the back room, like say to put something away or go to the bathroom or get away from him, he would follow you up until that door, and then he'd park himself in front of that door talking to whoever happened to be near him until you came back out, and then he would follow you again back to whatever it was you were doing. And it really kind of became the okay, who's on Viet duty today? Whose job is it to keep Viet away from all the other customers at least for about half an hour, so that everybody else can do their job. Because, God, this guy was annoying. And he wouldn't buy anything. He'd come in and he'd yap at us, and, until we finally would tell him, look, Viet, leave. And then he would leave. But what was really bad was one year we were going to Comic-Con.
Oh, that.
Ishi and I were going to Comic-Con, and we were taking the light rail into the convention center because parking is just a nightmare, and it was just easier to take the light rail down there. At least at that time, that didn't last very long. And we happened to run into Viet, and he was talking some poor people's heads off, and they were just like, I'm pretending this guy's not here, he's not talking to me. And then he saw us and immediately started talking to us, and Ishi did the impossible. He made him shut up.
And what did I do?
You told him flat out to his face that he was being an idiot.
The thing is he was rambling on, talking shit about someone we'd never met or someone
Yeah.
I didn't know.
And I don't recall who he was talking about.
And he's sharing this with everyone in the train car.
Mm-hmm.
It's really annoying. And I said, so you mean really annoying and won't shut up like you?
And he said it the first time, and Viet just kept talking. I don't even think he registered it. But then you said it again.
I said, yeah, that's what I mean. Annoying and won't shut up, just like you.
And that kind of got him to shut up, and then he moved to the next cart, and we could hear him talking while he was in the next car.
Wow. I'd forgotten about Viet.
Yeah, Viet. No, there was Viet, and then there were two other guys, and they were nice, but they were kind of stalkery, honestly. One guy actually tracked me down to my second store.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, so should I tell the nightmare story? Fortunately, that did not happen to me.
Which story
the golf
is this?
Course.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, in high school, I had two friends, and they continued this job into their first year of college. Two friends that worked at a local golf course. And they had a manager named Dennis. And Dennis was a strange one. Very tall, thin guy, probably in his late 30s. And yeah, keep in mind, two teenagers working under him. And this guy was just kind of a perv, and he was always saying, hey, well, how about her? What do you think of her? I'd like to get in her pants. And he'd make very lewd comments about all the women. And, teenagers, they thought this was funny. But they kept getting younger.
Mm.
And he brought up, hello, her. I wonder what kind of underwear she's wearing. She's 12. Yeah, but come on, admit it. If she looked right, you'd do a 12-year-old. They're like, no.
Oh.
And they always just thought he was kidding. They always thought he was kidding. And then one day they show up for work, and there's a guy at the gate. Says, the premises are closed right now. Why are the police here? Your boss is in jail right now, and for questioning. Why? He's a sex offender.
Like, oh, fuck.
That is like the story you never want to hear. I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all talking about Biden at this point. So I have no idea what the conversation's turned into. But were there any others we wanted to bring up?
I'm sure there are. I mean, I'm just trying to think of.
Oh, we've been on for an hour, so I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess we fulfilled our mission of spending an hour talking about shit jobs and the bizarre experiences. And I didn't even get into any of the times that I I quit and walked out, or got fired on the spot. So, yeah.
I've only ever rage quit once. All other jobs I did give notice, whether or not they had me work the full 2 weeks afterwards. that's on them. Although it is funny finding out that I can no longer work at GameStop. They have banned me from doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on them, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can, knock on wood, I've never been fired.
I've been
Yeah.
fired from most of my jobs, or I quit them. Just on the spot. I just had enough. I was like, okay, screw this. I don't play well with others.
No.
So, Fair Maiden, are you still in the chat? Just out of curiosity, let me know. Otherwise, there's no point in continuing with what I was about to say. So how was last night's show? 3 hours, and it started out very serious, me talking about the history of fantasy art, and then the sake got introduced.
Wait, I guess I could have shared it sooner, but Cat's story about the creeper stalker reminded me of bringing it up from Redneck. Oh, I've got 2 other creepers, but I look back and it's like they were. I would like to think that they were nice guys who were just socially awkward. It's just I'm working and they want to monopolize my entire time. I was like, guys, I'm working here. I can't be hanging out with you. And one of them, he had a side job of repairing old video game systems like Game Gears, Game Boys, things like that. But he stopped coming around when he met Ishii.
Really?
Yes, because I told him from very as soon as I figured out he was hitting on me, I told him, look, I've got a boyfriend. And I don't think he believed me until you came to surprise me one day while I was actually chatting with him. And I gave you a big hug and it's like, hey, my lunch is in 10 minutes. Let's go do lunch. And he stopped coming around after that day.
Was that the point where you were still trying to get used to the fact that you were attractive?
Yeah, I'd never had that before.
You'd lost all the weight and was like, holy shit.
I was in the process of losing
You were
the weight.
losing the weight and you were putting effort in.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Mhm.
And you were shocked to realize that's all it took.
Mhm. Well, that and I was working in a video game store.
Love you.
Love you. Hey.
So, okay. Fair Maiden White, since you're in the chat, I didn't want to. I was kind of. Well, I had sake in me last night, so I wasn't really great on answering your question about seeing the sickly orange color in the sky. UFO sighting you asked me about. I don't know if this will freak you out or not, but the more credible cases, that is a very common sight, is seeing this kind of undulating orange light or glow coming from a disc shape that'll start to slowly change to pink or green.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this vibrant or even sickly orange color that they'll see. And that was reported in the Betty and Barney Hill case, the Travis Walton case, and the Pascagoula case. All of them had that.
Interesting.
And there's been a few other very credible reports, and that is a common sight.
With those particular color tones, it makes me wonder if it's one of those weird light tricks where some people see certain colors and other people see other colors. If it's one of those things.
It could be.
I mean, those particular shades, apparently, depending on what the backdrop colors are and what other colors are around, will appear as certain shades to certain people.
It's one of the phenomena that actually has been photographed, but this weird circular or discus orange smear in the sky doesn't prove anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I was trying to dig up some of the older photographs because the new ones, it's like Photoshop. You could fake anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that actually is a commonly reported, or was a commonly reported aspect of UFO sightings. And before you get freaked out, believe or disbelieve, it does not matter. In all 3 of those cases, no one got hurt. It wasn't bad. Seriously. And let's see. For those of you who have seen Fire in the Sky, great movie. Really enjoyable movie. The entire UFO sequence is thoroughly made up whole cloth. That is nothing. If you want me to do an episode on the Travis Walton case, is vastly different than what you saw in that movie. Although it is a good movie.
We really should head up north and go to Snowflake.
Unfortunately, the spot where he got plucked up, supposedly,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big pile of ashes now. The fires went through. It's
Oh,
gone.
damn.
Apparently Travis used to go do tours, and
Really?
occasionally he'd take people up there and talk.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, it's just a pile of ash now. It all got burnt down in the last fire season.
Damn.
Now here's a review we can get behind.
Because boobs.
So what aspect was it? Talking about cats' boobs? Was it the discussion of pulp fantasy art and how the relevance of boobs in fantasy art and why the feminine form is important? Was it all the images of old pulp art from the 50s and 40s that I showed on screen, along with the really perverse ones from the 30s? What was it about the boobs that were so satisfying?
Just Star Storyteller. I found out that GameStop, the company, has put me on the blacklist of never have worked for them again. So
What did you see, Fair Maiden? I mean, you said you saw a sickly orange light. Can you give me a better detail? I mean, the one I saw was broad daylight. It's nothing like the night sightings that I hear about. It was the time I saw a saucer was so bizarre. It was broad daylight, and I was looking down on it, which was a weird part. I was on a mountainside on a bus coming home from Boy Scout camp, and it was buzzing a lake. It was so goddamn bizarre. And you always hear, well, what's it look standard? What exactly they're always described as? Just kind of a silver disc.
mm,
They're kind of like the ones in Mars Attacks.
cool. More drunk stream. Not tonight.
No. See, the thing is, Wolf, we only want to do that every once in a while. That's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe once a month or something. Sure, why not? We could
Yeah.
relax. But yeah, I do not ever want to be a thing where it's an actual feature.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
It's not healthy.
It's bad for me, for one. It's very bad for my mental well-being.
But
Redneck.
every once in a while, it's good for your mental well-being.
Oh yeah, every once in a while. But if it was a regular thing, no, that would be very bad.
No more than once a month.
Redneck, I have a funny proposition about one day making a compilation of Tim Pool and his chickens. I have a clip from JRE with Jordan Peterson with the line, "Who actually finds chicken sexy?"
Huh? Really? Really?
Do you want me to read that? Or
No. First, so are you going to send me these clips? Do you have these clips? Because I've thought about collecting all the weird Tim Pool clips of him talking about chickens, but I got a book to finish. I really do want to do a thing where it's Tim Pool's chicken apocalypse bunker.
Can you play the that chicken polka in the background by that Japanese guy doing the polka?
Maybe.
Oh, come on. It's him running around a field with chickens, balking to polka.
Is Takashi, I think it's Takashi Ichiro.
I think so, yeah.
And he sings the BB Hendel.
Yes, the BB Hendel. Ralt, we had some people vanish from my unit and show up 2 weeks later in the weirdest places. It even got CID and the Alphabet Boys involved.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Got company men coming in.
I'm sorry, Tuwelde. I'm not going anywhere near fascist Canada right now.
Sorry.
Have a civil war or kill Trudeau or something. Have the truckers run him over.
Although, if we went to Saskatchewan, you could go to a shed and breakfast.
God. Yeah, live the Trailer Park Boys experience.
Yes, live that experience.
What weirded me out was when you went to Saskatchewan and said, no, a lot of that stuff at Trailer Park Boys, they didn't make up.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's real. It's there.
It's just them showing reality.
Yeah. They're not even exaggerating.
Including the shed and breakfasts.
It's the fact I found not one, but two.
Yeah.
2 shed and breakfasts. What the fuck? Exler, pictures of boobs, drawings of boobs, and talking about boobs.
Well, that's always a fun topic.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, boobs are under attack. The female form is under attack, and the only way to push back is more boobs and more female form.
Mm-hmm.
We need less women that look like frost skin.
Yeah, there is a cancer of the breast, and it's now named
Yeah.
frost skin.
Frost skin, yeah. We don't need any more of these, string beanie little boy lesbians with Jake Lloyd's haircut.
Yeah.
Or who is it they were saying she looked like?
Frost skin? I don't know. I don't know. She looks like every lesbian you've ever met. Fair Maiden, hard to tell because it was at night. I noticed it about 10 miles south of town, ironically over a cattle feed yard. I looked away for a second and then looked back. That was about it. Oh, it was then about, sorry.
The connection of UFOs and cattle mutilations are actually assumptions and not real. There is very, very hard evidence that they are actually high-speed stealth helicopters made to look to operate quiet and made to look like some other weird otherworldly vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really knows why the fuck they do it. I mean, there's been theories about measuring radiation leaks due to underground testing.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also weird stories about it possibly being a cult of very, very rich people.
Well,
and yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, and then I'll finish Fair Maiden's comment because I just pulled up the second half. Testing for radiation. It's true that radiation will gather in the udders of cows because it gets attracted to the milk. Lactose will attract radiation. So fine, you kill a cow, you lance off an udder, if you really want to be dirty about it. But why the lips? Why the eyelids? Why the
genitals and the heart?
Yeah, why the genitals? Why the heart? Those aren't areas that are going to particularly have high levels of radiation.
Now, an interesting one to tie together that it may actually be some sort of rich man's cult doing this. The typical claim is the cattle gets taken away by either a chopper or a saucer. And trust me, there's weird, crazy hard evidence that it's a silent helicopter that's used that's made up to look like something else. They grab the cow, and then days later, this whole thing about, and there's no tracks or anything around it, it's because they're being dropped back into the field. That's not a mystery. Now, here's the interesting thing. During the 1800s, when the phantom airships were everywhere, right? And people were talking. Now, most of that was just hysteria and Me Tooism. There's some pretty hard evidence that there was some people experimenting with airships at the time. But one of the more frequently, it had several witnesses. And this is weird. I think it was, I forget what it was. What's cattle country?
What? Texas?
Is Kansas?
Kansas is in there. Yeah.
I think it was Kansas, or I don't remember where.
It's the middle of the
It was
the
one
country.
of the Midwestern states. There is a report that was spotted by multiple people about one of these airships coming over a field, roping a cattle up and flying off with it, coming back days later and just chucking its mutilated body back in the field and flying off. I'm surprised no one's ever made this connection. This is documented in the whole scare of phantom airships, and most of those stories are pretty outlandish. This one isn't. So anyway.
She goes on to say, it was a mile and a half away over the airport. I looked away thinking that was weird and looked back and it was right at the end of my block. I said, hell no, Miss Jennifer is not going out like this. Horrible. Mein Bibi Händel. Reason number 283. The Germans and Japanese can't be allowed to work together. I don't know. It's hilarious.
Give me a second. Talk. Say stuff about Anything.
Are you pulling up BB Hendel?
Yes, I am.
Or are you pulling up your video of BB Hendel?
Yes. Back in the days when, there was optimism in the air, and Kekistan was still a fun joke before everything got grim and people started hating each other.
Now we have Brandon. Brandon seems to be the the thing that's bringing us together.
Okay, so
you're bringing up your video?
Oh yeah, I'm bringing up my video. Because people need to see this if they haven't seen it.
Pepe, there it is. Oh.
How the hell could this be inappropriate? There's nothing in it. This is one of mine. This is on the Head Trauma channel.
Will they be able to hear it? Or
no, they won't be able to hear it, unfortunately.
Share screen. There you go.
Authentic Kekistani yodeling. Oh, this is the...
I'm gonna mute it.
Men in the movement aren't doing as much as they should be in our protests and direct actions, like during the March 25th Trump rally. So, to men in the Antifa movement, here's how you can help. Men should take the time to step back and reflect on their sexualities and genders, both to allow women to
Okay.
I think this is Tim. The world's so full of
Because pronouns are actually part of cis-normative culture.
If you're an anti-feminist, as far as I'm concerned, you can go to hell.
I was so in love with this woman that I actually kept one of her blood-soiled period pads.
I'm talking about sexism. Men should be quiet.
For both the cis female and non-cis.
Ladies and gentlemen, mein Damen und Herren, presenting to you aus Rhein-Winkel, Southern Bavaria, the Yodelmeister, yodeling the BB Hendel.
There you go.
So yes, there you go. The BB Hendel as edited by Head Trauma.
Jay-Z, Trailer Park Boys was popular because it was so true to life. Indeed. I love Leahy. Leahy was the best.
Mr. Leahy, yeah.
And just the play with words that they would have.
Yeah. Some of the weird insults.
Owen, hey guys, just thought I'd let you know that I got World War Kaiju in the mail today. Awesome! Loving it so far. When Hampton called that reporter twerp, I heard Ishii's voice.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying World War Kaiju. It is probably going to be the next project I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna finish that up.
Oh, Marty says that foreskin looks like Justin Bieber. Raltz, lips, eyes, heart, udders, genitals are all places you'd check for a biological vector.
Huh, interesting. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's a large segment in the book Mirageman about cattle mutilations, and apparently some people who claim to have actually flown the helicopters used.
Really?
Yeah, and they say it was CIA.
Interesting. Did that one journalist get to interview them?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Since that was how she got in on the whole
thing. Molten How.
Mm-hmm. Ralt's black hole noise suppression system for Blackhawks and Apaches tested on the Cobra in the early 80s. Not sure how far they got with it, but it sounds weird.
Interesting.
Xlurb, oh, videos on the head trauma channel can't possibly be
Oh,
inappropriate.
not in the least, especially the Commie Slayer videos. Have you all watched the Commie Slayer videos yet?
Mhm.
Because if you hadn't, you're missing out.
Elias, what the hell did I just walk into? What was that video?
Well, that was the BB handle as reinterpreted by Head Trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I should link that so you can watch it again.
You should. That would be thoughtful.
That would be thoughtful. I don't know. We've been on for almost an hour and a half. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, we're just having fun. Raltz, me and a bunch of other people once called in a UFO over the radio net in like January of 91. It was pretty weird.
What'd you see? I am very curious. What did you see, my friend? Okay.
You getting the link?
Yeah. All right. So if you want to see my more inappropriate videos, check out Head Trauma TV, and especially watch the Commie Slayer videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as we're waiting for the response from Raltz about his UFO sighting,
We saw either a B1 or B2 doing a
where?
map of Earth insertion.
Oh, interesting. That's cool. Huh. I don't know. I think we're out of subjects. Unless you give us something, I think we're done.
For the moment.
We run out of steam. I mean, we're not talking about boobs. We're not really talking about UFOs anymore. We told all our crap. We told as many crappy job stories as we felt like sharing this time around.
Mm-hmm.
What's the week look like for us, honey? I mean, we're going to have Mr. Delaraz on the show tomorrow.
Mr. Delaraz is going to be on the Monday night threesome. And then on Wednesday, we have William Hastings.
And who is
the return of William? For those of you who remember back in the day when we were first doing the writers' room, William was,
was a regular. Yes,
a regular, one of the panel, and he has been a busy man. He currently has 2 full-length novels that are out. One being The Crimson Spark, which I edited. Wonderful. It's fantasy, but it's not like, rainbows and kittens and elves all over the place. It's actually a pretty dark story, in a good way. And then he has another book. I can't remember what the title is, but it's about wrestling.
Oh, Vatican, something or other wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
So, we're really excited to have him on the show.
Okay.
Oh, and will World War Kaiju Book 2 have a Guyver-inspired character?
No, I do have a Ultraman-inspired character called the Ultra Soviet.
Yes.
Who is a human that's been mutated by Chi crystal radiation as an experiment by the Russians. And he is a Soviet version of Ultraman. Except you don't ever want to see what's under the mask because it's hideous and it makes Deadpool look handsome. He really is a nuke mutant.
Ultraman.
So close enough, right?
Did you know that 4 teenage boys can build a catapult that will launch younger siblings over the garage and onto a pile of mattresses in a single morning? I believe that this can be done. Yes, indeed.
That sounds great.
But can they build a trebuchet? Xlerb, how about boobs in ancient Egyptian UFO abductions? Just trying hard here.
Okay.
Well, the Egyptians did have boobs, but
Hathor?
yeah, like Hathor. But it's weird that their depictions of boobs are pretty average.
I think you're being biased. Average in light of you.
Well, okay. I have weird standards. No. I am going to say this. They're average in that they're pretty on par with a lot of the Greek and Roman depictions of women. They're
Okay, let's see.
See?
Is this real?
No.
I know
That's Indian.
I know that's Indian.
No, Indian, women, they got boobies.
Oh yeah, they're nice women. The Indian carving's not bad. Let's see. Well, there's that killer.
That's Hathor.
Oh, is that Hathor?
That's Hathor. No, that's not the hippo gator lion thing. Who I can never. Sokor? Is that what it's called? Probably not.
I'm kind of disappointed in the artwork we're getting here. Is that authentic enough?
It's Isis nursing Horus.
Okay, that's decent. How about this?
Yeah, that's average to me.
Yeah, that's...
Tell me how that's not on par with anything like the Greeks or the Romans had.
True.
So there. I make my point. It's average.
Okay, I grabbed some images here. We'll decide. Oh, there we go. Is that Sekhmet?
That's Sekhmet, yeah.
And I don't think that's real. Okay, we got some pictures loaded up. We're going to talk about classical art, or no, was it ancient art?
Ancient art.
Since you asked.
Although I think he was wondering how they relate to boobs. Well, you ever see the sun disk?
Yeah. Okay.
UFOs.
So this is Indian art. They like the Tatas.
Yeah.
Them and the Sumerians like the Tatas.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's one guy copping a feel, like right there.
I mean, these ladies the one there almost has cat boobs, so. And then there was the early fertility idols here.
Venus of Willendorf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's not a very good picture, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of blurry. That's Sekhmet.
And she's decently stacked for an ancient statue. Yeah. I mean, she's not Indian by any means.
No.
But, they ate different diets in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty well. I would say by today's standards, they're more stacked than most superheroes.
No, true. Very true.
Okay.
They draw cones for boobs in Egypt, depending on what era.
You mean this era? Cone boobs.
Cone boobs.
Well, somebody was really into the bullet boobs, and I guess decided. Well, what was it? The pharaohs often decided art style, right?
No, it was the priests.
Well, that is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That whole thing about boobs are getting bigger. It's a matter of food and genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the larger boob sizes of our era are often with larger tummies and other parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's eating. And for instance, we often hear about, well, Marilyn Monroe's measurements were, well, no, actually, a D cup in the 50s is a double D cup now.
Yeah,
I don't know why it changed.
because bitches be weird. Oh, I bet that's Ihimu.
Soviet Ultraman. Okay, I can dig it. Will it take
Okay.
place in the 80s and 90s? Like, no, it'll all take place. What it is it's going to be leading up to World War Kaiju, the Third World War, which occurs in the late 1960s. And there are some smaller monster skirmishes like the Cuban monster crisis leading up to it. And if you recall, the story itself, the interview between the journalist and the G-Man who was there at the ground zero of World War III, is taking place in the early 70s after the war.
I'm not playing tonight.
As of late, I've been here for the streams. It's hard to find anti-woke people who actually create stuff. Oh, other than bitch. Yeah, well. You know, that's one of the reasons we do these casts is that, you know, yeah, there needs to be more to life than just complaining about how much woke culture sucks. I mean, it's fun to a point, but at some point you've actually got to talk about other things like people who are actually making good books and comics. Oh yeah, with the Minoan ladies, they're pretty stacked. Let me bring up this image. Of course, I always liked that early image the Sumerians had of Isis, or Inanna, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that image is always, it's like, wow.
Okay. And I want you to take a very, very close look at these Egyptian statues. What color are they? They're Egyptian colored.
Mm-hmm. They are Egyptian colored.
They do not look anything like what was it, Tariq? What's his face? Who says he's a Kang?
No, they look like Jackie from Nerdy Crafter and her sister Sika.
Yeah. I can't verify this, but I've heard that Egyptians actually are very annoyed by the whole Kangs thing. It's like, no, the pharaohs look like us. We're Egyptians. Yeah, I got to hand it to the Minoan art. That is definitely a very classic superheroic figure.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You want to know how superheroic this figure is? She can take two at once.
Yes, she
and
can.
she's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those two snakes there aren't just a little bit suggestive. Although, what the hell's on her head?
A headdress.
No. This weird animal. Is that like a chimp or a puppy or?
Yeah, it looks like a monkey. But it's just this picture. I can't tell.
Are you aware that if you search naked yoga, there are videos?
There are videos because that is a thing. Just like hot yoga is a thing.
Yes. This whole thing about, boobs, big boobs are a recent thing. No. This goes throughout history. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the 20s, when they're always, the flappers were rail thin and had no boobs. That's what the bourgeois rich, essentially the Hollywood elite enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very much into doing away with gender. And the flappers were kind of this idea that they were becoming more masculine and women would dress like men. And they were getting very much into various, let's say, hedonistic sex. And in a lot of ways, they were following in the footsteps of Weimar Germany, where a lot of the really twisted fetish shit was developed.
Mm-hmm.
The places that developed most of the early fetish gear and the styles were Weimar Germany and France. And you look at the common man's porn back in the 20s. Nope. Looked like this Minoan chick.
The Egyptians are smaller due to the diet, and closer you get closer to the Central Africa, the bigger the boobs.
Okay. Well, there is always the exception. Except I don't know if I can find a picture.
What are you looking for?
Hathor?
Well, are you looking for a picture? Are you looking for a statue?
Statue. Or what was the queen or female pharaoh? What, the one that claimed she was Hathor?
Hatshepsut.
How the hell do you spell that?
Hapset.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not really getting anything here. Getting lots of sphinxes.
Part of that is because she did build a temple with a row of sphinxes with her face on them. Unfortunately, her temple kind of got built over.
Why?
Because it was the thing, it was the fashion in Egypt to, you build a building, and then the next person who comes along puts additions onto your building, and then the next person puts additions onto the building. So your original building basically gets buried under more buildings to the point where it's absolutely what had been like an open courtyard is now this little walled-in room, and which only exists because you put an obelisk there, and they weren't going to move your obelisk; they just built around it.
There we go. Can't really tell what you're looking at, but
Roman Massimi at the Temple of Hathor in Dendra. Well, there you go.
That's horrifying. I don't want to share that.
That's not Egyptian, but it is boobies. It is boobies. He found a fountain.
Supposedly that was Diana.
No. It is a fountain of a topless woman with many, many tatas. Yeah, a tata for every man.
There are no plant monsters in World War Kaiju. Okay.
On the other hand, I could see there being mimics because there are mimics in nature.
True.
I mean, gators look like logs. All the insects that have developed to look like twigs and leaves and things. Ralts, the no boobs are all East Coast and Hollywood women, known to have breasts famously quoted as being 2 fried eggs hammered to a board.
Yeah, because they've all starved themselves.
I would be shocked if they still had the yolk, though.
Youch.
Michael, that is why, despite their attempts, Christina Hendricks and Sofia Vergara will never be fully accepted by Hollywood.
And they've been reminded time and time again that they are not welcome. It's pretty screwed.
Well, I love Christina Hendricks. Which is why there are pharaoh statues being teabagged by larger pharaoh statues. It is true. Winged Yaga. Isn't Hathor the cow, or am I thinking of something else? No, Hathor is Hathor is a cow. She is also a hippo. So she's both. Yes.
What this?
That's Hathor in SG1.
Really?
Yes.
Not bad. I think she's a little underendowed for a Hathor, but
well, keep in mind this was primetime television. This aired probably around 6 o'clock.
The Starve Yourself 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
hey,
the 90s,
she was busty for the Starve Yourself 90s.
Yeah, that was another thing. In the 90s, counterculture, plenty of nice, curvaceous, busty women. Mainstream culture, other than Anna Nicole, no. And for those who are too young to remember, Anna Nicole was hot at one point.
Yeah, she was.
She was like Marilyn Monroe, but with huge tits.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Hathor from SG1, huh?
Yep, that's Hathor. I even remember that episode. That episode was hysterical because, of course, she's got like super pheromones that make all of the men her slaves, and all of the women are like, God, who the fuck does she think she is? She really thinks she's all that hot shit, doesn't she? And so, like, all the girls become like super bitches and team up against her. It's hilarious. It is like one of the most spiteful, God, what a slut episodes ever.
Was this before or after Claudia Black?
Oh, way before. It was first season.
Oh, okay. I never really watched SG1. Just no interest.
I loved it.
Yeah?
It but I watched it with the idea of this is not the universe of the movie. The movie had its own thing going on. SG1 is like a product of the multiverse.
If Hollywood didn't just completely suck absolute ass, it would be cool to see a...
That's Hathor above, but that's her as the hippo.
Here's the thing that eats your soul.
Yep, that's what that's Thoth. Okay. Here's the
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna
Okay,
bring it up for people. Well, here's the scales.
Give me a second. So you were saying, I was saying, what would be cool is I would love to see an actual genuine sequel to Stargate. But again, they'd screw it up right now, but have it as Kurt Russell is called back into action for some reason, goes through the gate again, leads another mission, and they're trying to find, was it Dr.
Jackson?
Dr. Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And we get to see some other places that the gate leads to. Okay.
So
this is the crocodilian hippo that eats your soul in the afterlife.
So from the left-hand side, now the image is cropped, but from the left-hand side, you can see the feather of truth is on the scales, and this arm that is above it actually belongs to Anubis, because Anubis is weighing the heart of the dead man against the feather of truth, and that is Thoth recording the ruling, and the crocodilian hippo thing. I think it's Sokar, but I don't think that's really the right name for it. Is in anticipation, waiting for the heart to weigh heavy against the feather of truth, so that it can eat it. And you can't see it in that particular picture, but above the scales is Osiris and the Council of 12 to preside over the ruling of the heart. And the dead also has to make proclamations to the Council of 12 saying, I've never, I've never lied, I've never stolen, I've never done all this other stuff. And the worst thing that can happen to you is to be caught in a lie to the Council of 12. So there are spells in the Book of the Dead telling your tongue, don't say certain things. So as long as you don't say it, you hope the Council of 12 doesn't notice that you left it out.
Man, the priests back then really had a good racket going.
Yes, they did.
Trust me, yeah, you need to buy this from us, now you need this.
Well, everybody pretty much got the spell to awaken their mouth so that they can say all the other spells. But yeah, that was the deal.
How about Shopties?
Only the rich could afford Shopties.
And Shopties were essentially what?
It was
Mr. Meeseeks?
Yeah, actually. They were little poppets that would go out into the field and do your work for you so that you could have a day off. And you wanted to have, the richest of the rich had a Shoptie for every day. So that you can live your afterlife in luxury without ever having to work ever again. Although I do want to ask an Egyptologist if that includes the 5 days that don't exist, because their calendar is only 360 days. There are 5 days that are not on the calendar that they don't want the gods to know about, And when those days pop up in the year, they will actually blindfold the statues. And that's their Saturnalia. That's when they would have parties and fun and orgies and other things like that. And again, you don't want the gods to know you're having fun.
Okay.
So anyway. So I want to know if that includes those days or not. Redneck. I'm left curious what you're talking about. Wheelies make me think of Return to Oz. Oh, the Wheelers? Neostar, TikTok is a one-man army. A wind-up are we going back in time?
No.
A wind-up robot warrior that mopped the floor with an army of wheelies.
Wheelers.
Yeah, Wheelers. Yeah, did we go back in time, or did it suddenly like throw old comments at us?
I don't know. That's kind of strange.
Because we were talking about that like 2 hours ago. That was weird.
So there you go. Yeah, you got to talk about boobs. Egyptian boobs.
Yes.
Indian boobs. Minoan boobs.
Minoan boobs.
Crocodilian hippos that eat souls.
I like Fair Maiden. A lot of priests still have a good racket going. Very true. Very, very true. No, TikTok wasn't copper. He was brass, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I'm out. I got nothing.
You're tapping out?
Unless they throw something interesting at me, I say it's time to do something else.
Okay.
Like dinner.
We
had a nice lunch, but that was quite a while ago.
Oh, it was 7 hours ago.
Yeah, we haven't eaten for 7 hours. Maybe it's time to go eat. Ancient boobs sounds like a risque Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Neostar, he was on his mobile and the chat backtracked on him. So that's okay. Another actress with great boobs is Alexandra Daddario.
Yes, that is a woman who knows. Yeah, she was like the one woman in Hollywood that said, "Hey, I'll get the good ones that look real." She actually spent good money. And he's like,
wow.
No, boob jobs don't have to look horrific.
Wow, amazing.
You don't need to have those weird, bizarre bot dots that Christine Ricci has now. No, you can get them that look totally real. And the strange part is I guess in Hollywood terms, they're not stupid expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised.
They're reasonably expensive.
Yeah, you see all these, Dr. Hollywoods, and they're like charging ass loads of money for really crap work. I swear it's all about, oh, well, I went to see this person.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, you don't want that shit. Yu-Gi-Oh! I play Blue Eyes White Titsilla Monster. Oh, okay. Hilarious. One of the most hilarious things that happened. Okay. I worked for a comic book store for a short time. And this was during the Christmas rush. And this was at like the height of Yu-Gi-Oh mania. Yu-Gi-Oh had completely taken over from Magic and Pokemon cards as being like, the tits, so to speak. And I'd have kids coming in asking if we had like these ultra rare cards, because we were selling individual cards. And I'd tell them, no, we don't have that one. Or I would point to it in the case, and they would ask me to verify if the decimal point was in the right spot. That being, I believe it was $250 for the card. There's a combiner. I don't remember what it's specifically called, but it's like 5 items that combine into like one awesome card. And like if you have all 5 pieces, you like basically don't, why even play anymore? You've just won because you've fielded all 5 of these things. But they're redonkulously expensive. They were the store owner was selling them for $250 each. And he had like 7 of each of the cards. That was insane. He got them from Japan. Anyway, one of the most hilarious things that ever happened was this kid who, you could tell is a brat. He is a fucking brat. And he comes in with his mom. And it's like, Mom, no, I really want this card. It's like, you sure you really want that card? Yes, I really want this card. You sure that's you just want, these 5 cards? That's all you want? It's like, yes, Mom, that's what I really want. And, I have to have it, Mom. You just don't understand. I have to have these 5 cards. And his mother is, it's very obvious that she just wants to placate the brat and get him to shut up while she finishes her Christmas shopping. And she comes over and says, okay, my son wants these 5 cards. I go, you sure you want all 5 of them? Me parroting her, she goes, yes, he really wants them. I'm like, you do realize how much they are, right? And she goes, no, why? I'm like, did you look at how much it is in the case? Because I wasn't going to pull it out unless I knew I was guaranteed a sale. And she took one look, and I could tell she saw red. Flames nearly shot out of her ears. She whirled on her son and was like, Mom, I have to have it. And she grabbed his wrist so hard, I'm shocked that his arm didn't pull out of its socket. And she dragged him out of that store going, you knew it was going to be this much, and that's what you were asking for? You are grounded. It's like, oh my God.
Good mom. Good mom. She just didn't indulge a little brat.
No, but it was just like, wow. I mean, I'd had parents hit the roof before when they saw how much those cards were. I had grandmas hit the roof. But it was all just, no, we're not getting that for you. It's like, but I need it. It's like, yeah, but it's too expensive. You don't need it that bad. It's usually trying to be reasonable to the kid. It was the fact that she just had enough. It's like, no, you're locked in your room for even trying to pull that shit on me. It was so hilarious.
All right. So before I answer this question, I'm going to encourage all of you listeners, especially those new to the cast, to go down into the description and click the link that says buy my books. You don't necessarily have to buy them, but take a look at least. Seriously, they're well written, they're incredibly well illustrated, and they're not woke. And there's chicks that are hot. Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. I'll answer this question now.
Okay. Elias says, does cyberpunk have to be depressing story-wise? Sorry for changing the subject. Just a quick answer.
Okay. This assumption needs to go. This is a development entirely the fault of millennials. I'm sorry. I know you guys get dumped on for a lot, but this one is entirely the millennials' fault. Now, originally, even though a lot of lefties and closet commies, or at least people who thought they were closet commies, wrote cyberpunk, they never could reconcile the fact that the underlying theme of cyberpunk was deeply libertarian. As essentially every one of the original cyberpunk stories generally went around people surrounded around characters in a hyper accelerated media driven world of over access and information overload, and where cash is king and very corrupt, and them breaking all the rules to make it work for them, winning. They were basically the rebels in the system that weren't going to just lay down and take it. They weren't going to be a prole. They weren't going to be a pedestrian run down on the high information highway, the super information highway. They were going to be users, not it was
pedestrians.
Not pedestrians. Yes, and that comes up time and time again. They are not depressing stories. They're set in dark settings, yes. There can be dark cyberpunk stories, but at their core, all cyberpunk stories have that libertarian edge of, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. If the system's corrupt and broken, I'm going to break them. And, there's definitely an amoral streak to it, but then there are also ones where, like, it's very heroic. I would say the best one being Walter John Williams' Hardwired, which is I think, one of the most libertarian books ever written, where you've gotten this essentially the mega corporations teamed up with the communists to create the ultimate oligarchy that rules from space. And it's about a handful of black marketeers who have been smuggling to keep a free market going, who bring down the oligarchs. Not through communism, not through labor unions, not through all that. No, by beating them at their own game. There you go. But yeah, across the board, there was supposed to be an edge, an attitude. These weren't about losers. Raise their fists claim that cyberpunk is about everything falling apart. No, that's just dystopian. Done. It is just dystopian. Cyberpunk has an attitude to it. It's supposed to play like music, pop music or rock music. They're supposed to flow like ballads. They're about burnouts and losers at the edge of society, weirdos who don't fit in, people who are go against the grain, people who've decided, I'll do it myself. DIY, do it yourself attitude. And you're not technology's bitch. You're not oppressed by technology. You make technology your bitch. Do you understand? Somewhere along the line, millennials thought that it was an anti-capitalist, communist parable about dystopian settings. We've got dumbasses who think 1984 and The Handmaid's Tale are cyberpunk. This is how fucking stupid they are. Okay? And I'm, again, sorry, millennials. It's your generation's fault. For some reason, these fuckers wanted to make cyberpunk all about being a depressing, anti-capitalist dystopian message. And everyone dies and loses. So, yeah. There you go. Now, again, can you have dark, sad stories? Of course. I mean, it's part of its roots are film noir. I mean, or just pulp noir. So you have that end of things. But at the core of a lot of pulp noir, I mean, everyone, the detective isn't the anti-hero in pulp noir. Yet another fucking misnomer. The only time that I can really think those really count is Mike Hammer and Sam Spade. Who, and even then, Mike Hammer grows up and gets a moral compass. Sam Spade is just an amoral, self-serving asshole. And he's a psychopath or a sociopath. More often than not, the noir stories were about people who were either common people getting into horrible situations with no good way out, trying to fight their way through, even if they're doomed. Or you had cops and detectives who were the one honest man in a tainted world. And when you drop a one honest man in a corrupt, tainted world, he causes problems.
Simply because it has recently been, in theaters. Nightmare Alley is noir.
Yeah, it is. And that is a morality tale. A con artist gets his due. The villain gets what he deserves. But you look at the Raymond Chandler stories, Philip Marlowe. Marlowe is uncorruptible. Marlowe is essentially as the knight in soiled armor. He is the one good man, the one honest man in a corrupt world. And no matter what, he's going to get to the bottom of it. Does this sound depressing? No. You know what's depressing about Marlowe's life? It's his burden to carry. It isn't easy being the one honest person in a corrupt world. That's the burden. So, yeah, somewhere along the line, the millennials decided that things like noir and cyberpunk and all these were just nihilism. No, it was never nihilism. And in fact, the interesting thing is both genres came out of times of nihilism. For film noir, it was the 1920s nihilism, and then the post-war, not really nihilism then, it was more of a sense of the world had completely changed. It was the post-war condition where the world had all changed. The world had lost its luster. Nobody, all these innocent boys went to war and came back men and realized the world wasn't innocent. And the mom and apple pie world they'd left wasn't there, that they were fighting. When they were fighting to save mom and apple pie and small town America, and when they came back, it wasn't. It was crime-ridden streets and economic strife.
Well, look how many episodes of the original Twilight Zone where that was the story. It was somebody coming back from war, or just plain, the message was you can't come home again. What you've known is gone, and dealing with that.
Right. And so the especially detective noir was about being the one honest man, the moral compass in this uncertain world. It isn't about, oh, everyone's fucked and doomed, let's revel in it.
Oh yeah, you can have happy endings. Neuromancer has a somewhat happy ending.
Yeah.
Ralt, cyberpunk is you trying to solve your friend's murder after his wife went to the cops, sponsored by Subway, and it was declared a suicide by using the internet and your Chrome to unearth a conspiracy.
That's pretty good.
So who killed Roger Rabbit? The book.
I don't know what that is. Let's see. The lane.
Actually, I'd love to redo Who Killed Roger Rabbit as a cyberpunk. That would work.
Yeah.
It's your ROM construct instead of the doppelganger.
Or think about every episode of Max Headroom. Was about the one good man, the journalist, trying to get to the bottom, working for a media corporation that was about entertainment.
Yeah. Or like with that said, that episode where you had the female journalist who went missing because she got a little too close, and everybody was telling Edison, stop trying to find her.
Yeah, forget about it. Yeah.
Joe, now to be a rebel, just dye your hair in I can't read today. Matism color, and agree with the government and corporate overlords.
There's one thing I really, really hate about woke people is they are like wearing minstrel show versions of 80s and 90s goth punk industrial culture. They're so fucking phony. It isn't even real looking. It's essentially blackface of those styles.
The word you're looking for is Hot Topic.
No, that's even even Hot Topic was better. Hot Topic goths look more real.
No, now.
Oh, yeah.
Hot Topic now. Hot Topic now is like the store equivalent of Stranger Things is to the 80s. It's all the pose of nostalgia with none of the substance or any understanding of what it is you're being nostalgic about.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think right now, what is it? Hot Topics is essentially the Rick and Morty store.
Pretty much. William, I blame the nihilistic noir stuff. It comes from the 70s neo-noir stuff like Chinatown.
I agree. And the fact that boomers saw the Maltese Falcon and thought that was all noir. Seriously. They had no interest in the genre. Maltese Falcon got a re-release, and suddenly they thought they loved it, and they thought all noir was that. And yeah, you got Chinatown. Now, you know what would have happened if it had been the 40s and they'd made Chinatown? It would have ended with, the forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown. Except Jake would then break into the guy's house, probably beat the crap out of him, and possibly shoot him and go to jail knowing at least I got the fucker.
Yeah.
That's the difference. He wouldn't have accepted it.
Ralts to Redneck. That is all boomer millennial. We're totally rebels trying to relive the 60s and hilariously unaware that they're the man. Well, not only that, but since when do you need the government's blessing to be a rebel?
Yeah. We need laws to validate our identities. Yeah, you're not punk rock.
No.
The punk rock does not need the government to validate who they are.
Well, look, if an old school punk, old school, like from the 70s.
Yeah, we're not talking like Bad Religion, those fuckers.
No. Like a real punk pulled this pronoun shit. I'd think they were doing it because they knew it would piss people off. And they'd stop because if it didn't, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not because they want to be special little snowflakes. It's because they know it would piss people off.
The Maltese Falcon is a good book and a good film.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the best.
It's
not the quintessential noir film in my opinion.
It has a lot of good points. I think the problem with it is that it's been overplayed so much that it's kind of oversaturated.
Very oversaturated.
And by that I mean specifically the book. The movie, I'm just gonna say it's become cliche. That's the problem. The movie has become cliche. The movie has become just about as cliche as Hitchcock Psycho or what's it called? Rosebud.
Oh yeah.
Citizen Kane. You know, a lot of the classic films have, because they've been referenced so much over the decades, they've lost their impact because everybody knows the reference before they see the original. God, we own all of these.
Yeah, I mean, I much prefer, say, Gilda, much better film.
Gilda.
The Big Heat, much better film. Kiss Me Deadly's just funny.
Out of the Past.
Out of the Past. I consider that a quintessential noir film.
I still love Too Late for Tears.
I think that's far more in line with it, with what noir is compared to, well, again, Maltese Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Or Pitfall.
Pitfall, which was a lost classic.
Mm-hmm.
Another great film. Jeez. Oh, Double Indemnity.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Classic.
One of the best. Written by two of the best writers of the time. What was the other one? There was The Big Heat and The Big something else.
Big Sleep?
No, not The Big Sleep.
Big Combo?
Yeah, that's it. The Big Combo, I think, is the best of all. That is the quintessential detective noir film.
At this very moment in time,
I don't say it's
on...
not the best noir film, but I would say it's the culmination of the detective cop genre by far.
Oh, this one. Okay, yeah. Ishi just pulled it up on IMDb.
The Big Combo by Joseph H. Lewis is by far the best of that genre. I would say The Domestic. Oh God, that's a hard one. Too Late for Tears is probably
Too Late for Tears.
And Pitfall.
People keep bringing up Mildred Pierce, and the only reason why I think they do is because of what was her name? Oh, why am I blanking on the actress's name?
What?
I am totally blanking on whatever happened to Baby Jane. It's not. It's oh, the really crazy one.
Yeah.
Crawford. Joan Crawford. Yeah, because Joan Crawford starred in it, and quite frankly,
it's a good film.
It's a good film, but there's a lot of nothing in it. I read the book, and the book is where the domestic drama comes from. They actually watered it down to the point where they had to completely fabricate the third act for the film because they wouldn't have had an ending if they didn't.
Phantom Lady's another great one.
Phantom Lady's great.
There you go. There's a character, man wrongly convicted, one woman,
Mhm.
not even his wife, just one woman knows he's innocent, and God damn it, she's going to prove it,
Yeah.
and puts herself to great risk. An actual heroine, no less.
An actual heroine, and I liked the fact that she does do some stupid things, but it's realistic stupid. It's the kind of stupid things that you could see yourself doing with, and then realizing, you know what, I'm in over my head.
Yeah. And then another one that's just one of those classic morality tales where it's like, okay, this is someone who really is doomed,
Mhm.
but it's a great tale because you don't even know what is real and what's not. Detour.
Yeah, Detour.
That is one hell of a crucible of a film, but so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
House of Bamboo.
House of Bamboo is
Very good one. Set in Japan.
That's the one where it was a co-production with
Toho.
With Toho, yeah.
And the thing is, that one was cool because you get a mob boss who's still a villain, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
You feel bad for him. You know he's trying to just be a good boss.
Yeah. That is the interesting thing is because Japan's crime families, at least traditionally speaking, I don't know about now, because they were families, you would get like good men just trying to be a good boss or a good leader, even though their business is crime.
Okay, so that's a link to a friend's comic, Redneck. Good to know. I thoroughly agree here with Wolf.
I'm a true rebel then, since I do not conform to neo-black community rules of today and is now self-exiled. Yes, be a rebel. Don't be a part of that.
The Turner classic movies are good, but the host is a total lefty cuck who totally wants to make shit up about what the films are about.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. Ignore him. All right. I really need dinner. We're going on 8 hours with no meal. Let's go eat.
Okay.
Hey, love me. Buy my books. Link in the description.
Thanks, everybody.
Titties.